Welcome to Spark Chats. I'm Dr. Stacy, naturopathic doctor.
And I'm Ashley Carr, the social worker and clinical therapist.
And today we wanted to talk about gratitude.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, just on a personal note. I was mentioning that I used to not be able to breathe ever. I had a deviated septum and kind of a lot of nasal issues. And I had surgery 2 years ago, and ever since then I can take a breath through my nose, and it never fails, after 2 years even, it never fails to bring me to the moment that I'm so thankful to be able to breathe, which seems like a pretty basic thing, I think, for most people, but to not have that and then to have it, it was making me think of gratitude and just being grateful for something basic, but so important, and it just makes a world of difference. So yeah, I was thinking about that.
I find it so hard when it's almost like if you haven't lost something or you don't have something, it's hard to be grateful for it.
Right. Like it's just there automatically. You take it for granted.
Well, it's like I said to you before too, it's like we're so lucky because we can walk and we can talk and we can breathe, but it's hard to feel the gratitude without having lost it.
Right.
So I think when you actually can really feel grateful for having something like that, like the feeling you get, it's hard to explain it.
Well, yeah. Well, it's sort of, well, it goes back to being, like, you have to experience something to actually, like, we can talk about it, and we can kind of use words like be gracious or have gratitude, but to experience real gratitude is, you have to have not had something, or you realize how big something actually is because it wasn't always a given, basically.
Or I feel like another good example is like living here when it's dark, it's in the winter, how it's so gloomy and dark and terrible and everyone feels miserable, and then you get to go on vacation to somewhere where it's hot and sunny, and it's like you're so grateful for the sun and the heat, and you can like feel and experience that gratitude. And that's why I think, too, practicing gratitude, like remembering how it feels in those moments.
Yeah, bringing yourself back there so to give the perspective. Yeah. Well, it's the same idea that without something's opposite almost, it's hard to sort of, for that thing to have meaning in the same way.
Right? Yeah, it's like that saying, without the dark days, you can never...
Because it makes me think of people who live in tropical settings that say, are they as grateful for it or as aware of it, because it's sort of just the regular, whereas for us it's not. So then we appreciate it that much more. Helps put a good spin on it. And it's hard, like you're saying, to tap into gratitude day to day, and then all we focus on is things that we don't like, or things that we feel we wish that weren't there, and we don't focus on the things that we do enjoy because they're so regular maybe for us.
And so do you think it's important to have like a gratitude practice as part of your daily routine, or?
Yeah, I think like you were saying, to be able to bring yourself back to a moment, maybe when you did feel grateful, it's harder to remember to do that without some concrete practice to bring us there. So I think even as a reflecting tool, or, even the ability to write something out in a concrete way helps to make it concrete. So instead of just thinking of, what am I grateful for, spend time with the question a little more. I think that could help, and I could benefit from it. Like, yesterday I only thought of it because I took a breath in. I'm like, oh, that feels great. But there's probably so many other things I could and am grateful for, but I don't think of them.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, I don't know, have you heard of the 5-minute journal?
Maybe.
Okay, well, it's this journal, and you're meant to do it every morning and every night. And so in the morning you wake up, I forget exactly, but anyways, the whole purpose of it is that you write 3 things that you're grateful for that day.
Right. In the morning already? Or
no, at night. So once the day's over. And then in the morning, I forget what you write in the morning. But anyways, so I was trying to take that idea and implement it every day. And I know at first when I was starting to write down 3 things that I was grateful for that day, it felt like forced and made up. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Whatever it was that day. So I think what you're saying, it makes such a big difference when you actually take a minute and, okay, how did I feel in that moment? And I think the practice isn't so much about writing down those 3 things, but it's about when that thing actually happens in the day, can you notice it? Well,
it frames, it's maybe even in the morning, it's more of like the intention is set to sort of pay attention to your whole experience, not just all the stuff that happens that we don't like, so that, and then at the end of the day it sort of solidifies it, or you go back through the day. So yeah, it's really just helping your awareness be more balanced, really, because we tend to just think of negative things. So that's a really a cool thing. And you did you do it? How did you find it?
I did do it, and I'm trying. I mean, it's one of those things that I think you have to practice ongoing in order for it to really make an impact.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep up with it, with the practice, and I did notice that over time it becomes easier and you actually start to feel it.
Right.
But it's like anything, like learning any new skill.
Yeah.
If you don't keep with it or you don't continue on,
kind of create the habit or make it the routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's, even if it's a thing that you try and do and you notice how hard it is to do, that's useful information and a good place to reflect. Be like, why is it so hard to think of things that I'm grateful for, or even want to spend the time doing it? It really says something about how we prioritize our time.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and how important it is to try and rewire those brain pathways.
It takes a lot of work. It's not
a lot of work.
Natural. So we're fighting up against a lot, but it is better in the long run. And then when you're able, like the feeling of being grateful kind of pulls you out of the feelings of stuckness and just feeling like overwhelmed by life, and you get sort of a break. And it's an inherent, breathing is such a great thing to even if you can breathe your whole life, to even be grateful that you can.
Yeah.
And take a moment can sort of just help frame a moment as nice and pleasant.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, when you see, unfortunately when we see other people around us who like maybe aren't able to breathe or break an arm, like whatever, those things that we take for granted, it puts it back into perspective for yourself to say, I am so lucky that I can breathe. Yeah. Or that I can walk, or that I can wake up every morning.
Yeah. And a lot of people, from what I hear from clients, and I have that same sort of sentiment, we almost don't want to feel good about ourselves because we know other people have it harder, sort of thing, but we have to have a balance. We should be able to feel grateful for the things that we have that not everyone has, and still feel empathy for that as well. It's not like an all or nothing, or you have to feel one way or the other way. You should feel grateful for good things that you have, and that,
Great. Well, if you guys have any comments about gratitude or feeling grateful or anything else that you want us to talk about next week, let us know.
See ya.